Welcome to the Brew Bucks podcast. The podcast for the beer drinking enthusiasts trying to get better with money. Your hosts, Jake and Alec, interview personal finance creators, speakers, authors, real estate experts, and everything in between. There's nothing quite like having a conversation with your friend while sipping on a cold one. If you're looking to learn more about money without all the fluff and BS, you've found your new home. This is the Brew Bucks podcast. Now your hosts, Jacob Wilhite and Alec Miller.
Welcome back to episode number 46 of Brew Bucks, where we talk to our buddy Devin all about real estate, what's going on in the market, and after all the 2021 madness, as well as some great things about just real estate in general, finding a good agent, all that kind of stuff. So excited for this episode. How are you, buddy?
Good. I'm still here, so that's always a good day. But I think it's been a fun experience lately because I know I told you guys on, I think, the previous pod that I got engaged. Still engaged, so good news there. But more importantly, we also got a cat. So we got a cat yesterday.
I've never saw you as a cat person. I guess I could see you as a cat person.
Dude, I am lazy, so I'm definitely a cat person. Dogs take way too much work. But going back to kind of one of our personal favorite podcasts, the best one yet, I think they have a expression called DINK, which is double income, no kids. And they had, what is it? Dink Wad, which is double income, no kids with a dog. So what does that make me? A dink walk?
I guess with
double,
a cat.
Yep. Double income, no kids with a cat. So I'm now officially a dink walk.
Dink walk ass.
Dink walk ass.
Yeah. The ass is and some succulents.
And some succulents. I don't have any succulents. I can't even, I would kill succulents if I tried. So,
but shout out to the T-Boy pod. If you guys are looking for daily tips on the stock market, 3 great business financial stories, T-Boy is one of my favorites.
Yeah, they know what's up, and it's a daily podcast except for the weekend, so you get a little bit of them
any
Monday
day that
through
the market's
Friday.
open. Yeah,
I was bummed because Monday was a holiday and they didn't get them, so I was a little bit sad. We get them 4 days this week.
Yep. They take holidays off, unlike us folks not in the 9 to 5 space. All right, so we're gonna play our second game of Nay or Stay, and last week we did a story on Amazon selling prescription pills. So is that a nay or is it here to stay? We voted that was going to be here to stay. Our story today is about Chipotle. Oh, dang, spitting some rhymes, dude. So Chipotle is deciding that they are going to open a new restaurant called, what was it? Farmesa?
Farmesa, yes.
So it's like farm to table in 2 different languages. And basically, it is going to be high-end burrito bowls, only burrito bowls, and they're going to be like way more ingredients and like fancier, like bougier things, right?
All organic, more than likely.
Yes. So Chipotle has had numerous spinoff restaurants that have already failed.
One was a pizza place.
Yeah, super weird. So, Alec, what is your guesstimation here on what happens with Farmesa?
I'll be blunt and quick. I think it's a nay.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of people that want to eat healthy and they want to do its best, but I think there's even more people that are still infatuated with eating junk food. And I think that, yeah, maybe Farmesa might be successful in California because we're all about that.
In Beverly Hills.
Yeah, in Beverly Hills, yeah, which is in California. We're all about that healthy, organic life, but I feel like it's just not enough people. But yet, their most selling item is the bowls. So then again, I could be wrong because, I mean, when I go there, I get a bowl too. I always leave that tortilla on the side. So I might be wrong, but I just think that if you want a bowl, you can still go to Chipotle. So you're opening up another restaurant that does the same thing you're already doing, but more than likely a higher price for organic. I think a lot of people are going to say nay to that, and I'm going to say nay also. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm going to stick with the nay as well, simply because I think people go to Chipotle because they feel like it's slightly healthier, already, but it's like still like some classic, like it's still quick service food, at the end of the day. And I think that's just like anyone wants to go to like some other quick service restaurant, I don't know, Chick-fil-A or whatever. You're not going there to be like, oh, I need to eat healthy. You're not I don't know. I just don't think that the demand is, I think that the product that Chipotle has, their burrito bowls are great because it's the good old classic rice, beans, sour cream, cheese, meat, all the good stuff, right? I think they're kind of overcomplicate it with a lot of other ingredients that I just don't see the masses of people wanting to go after. I think we've seen that in a lot of places that have tried to do like craft salads and things like that,
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm going to stick with the nay.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen so many things from McDonald's come and go that were so supposedly healthy. I think the one that lasted that longer was the salad you'd get in like the cup and you'd shake it. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
All those, that one,
Yeah,
and that one was
that?
around for a few years and went away. I don't know why I remember that one specifically. Shout out to McDonald's for embedding that in my mind. But yeah, I just think a lot of times organic and healthy doesn't go great with quick service restaurants.
Yeah, agreed. So, as far as our question of the day, this was a question we got a couple weeks ago, basically asking what to look for in a good real estate agent and how to find a good real estate agent. And so, like I said, that's what this entire episode is about. We decided it was worthy of a full episode. And so please sit back and enjoy this interview with Devin. As you know, Alec, many of our listeners have aspirations of investing in real estate, but sometimes it can be difficult and overwhelming to get started.
Well, luckily there's Fundrise. Fundrise is a great option for people looking to dip their toes into real estate.
Fundrise's mission is to use technology to make high-quality real estate investments available to everyone at a low cost. With as little as $10, you can own a small piece of actual physical property.
What a deal. And if you want to join thousands of other people who are making money through real estate, click the link in the show notes and get started with Fundrise today.
Devin, my man, welcome to the podcast officially. Excited to hang out, talk real estate, and have some fun. So thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's gonna be a good time.
Yeah, I already like the vibe you're bringing with all the neon in the background and everything. I can tell it's gonna be fun today.
I love the message. The good days.
Yeah,
people forget that these are the good days sometimes, and we're living in them, and it's a good reminder. So I dig it.
What's that quote in The Office where it's like, I wish we knew we were in the good old days when we're in the good old days, or something like that.
Yep.
That's great. Yeah.
Exactly. So, Devin, as you might know, we're going to start off each show by talking about what type of brew we'll be sipping on. Whether it's a nice cup of coffee, an ice cold beer, or some tea, there's something different about having a conversation with a drink in your hand. Our goal is to be able to provide some interviews and conversations with awesome guests while not taking ourselves too seriously, and most importantly, having some fun. So, Alec, what you got today?
Well, I always got to bring the really bad jokes. So, of course, I brought one today related to real estate. So what room has no walls?
What, Alec? What room has no walls, Alec?
A mushroom.
Oh my God.
All right, dad joke of the day done. Now we're off to the beer. So today I'm drinking a beer from Parliament. They are located in Roanoke Park, California. The name of the beer is Green Balloon, and it has a little spoof like Banksy, where instead of the girl with the balloon, it's a little owl with the balloon. So that's kind of cute. It is a West Coast double IPA at 9.0% alcohol. So let's give this a taste.
Do you know what a Parliament is?
Something to do with government, right?
It's a group of owls. That's why their can is an owl.
Oh, look at that. More you know. So it's like a murder of crows, like one of those things where it's the name of animals.
I guess so.
That's good though. It is a mildly bitter, pretty hoppy though. Definitely strong notes of pine. But yeah, it's very drinkable for 9% beer, and I'd say it's good.
Yeah, I like Parliament. They're good guys over there. Yeah. Let's see. Alec brought me this beer from Ghost Town called Little Nigel. Is that it's a rapper?
We think it's a rapper. I'm not sure. I don't know why, but I think it's a rapper.
Okay, got it. It's like Rasta colored. It's an English mild, 4%. And Ghost Town is out of Oakland and doing really cool stuff as well. Tasting it here definitely looks like I don't know, toffee colored. Ooh, definitely malt forward as a English mild tends to be. Lots of like biscuity toffee notes. It's actually pretty smooth though. It's good. I'm not a big English mild kind of guy, but I could definitely get through this for sure.
I think it's the first one on the show so far.
I think so. Yeah.
Right.
Devin, what'd you bring today?
Yeah, I got some Yerba Mate. I've been really looking forward to opening this. I didn't want to open it before the show, so
Crack
there we go.
Keeping it fresh.
The Blueforia can. I love it.
Yeah, I tried to go pick up some non-alcoholic beer before this, but they only sold them in 4-packs at the gas station. I'm kind of cheap, so I'm like, I don't want to buy this whole pack. I'm not going to drink it anyways. I kind of have this rule now. Like I either get really drunk or I don't drink at all. So I don't want to get really drunk at 3 p.m. right now. So we're gonna go with the tea to start off.
I dig it.
That's
I
a
dig
good
it.
rule to live by.
I mean, honestly, like that's a great way to do it. Like if you're gonna do it, go for it. But being a casual drinker where it's just like 2 every day, like that's how you start getting the beer belly and all that fun stuff. So, all right,
It's all
well,
about balance, right?
yeah,
Oh,
totally.
absolutely.
Cheers,
So
boys.
cheers.
Yeah, love it. Thanks again for
Cheers.
coming on. All right,
For sure,
so
man.
we like to start off every show by getting to know our guests a little bit better. So, what was growing up for you like, specifically surrounding the topic of money?
Yeah. So to give a little bit of context, I came from a family of immigrants. So my grandparents came over at the Vietnam War. My grandpa was in the war. And growing up, they worked blue collar jobs their entire lives. My grandpa was a truck driver, and my grandma still works at the same corn dog factory for the past like 20 years or so. So growing up, we didn't have a ton of money. And whether I could articulate it or not, we could feel the lack of money around the house and kind of the disadvantages it had for us. For additional context, my mom had me when she was 15. So she was still finishing college while I was still growing up. And I saw that happen. I remember going to my mom's college graduation and really seeing like each part of my family and generation move the football like down the field a little bit more. Like my grandparents got us into the football stadium. My mom was the first person to graduate and got the ball past the starting line. And really there was just this kind of motivation and responsibility to like keep moving it down the field. So a lot of work happened as I got older, integrating into American culture, having Vietnamese grandparents and trying to mix their culture. And the big part of the invisible money scripts that we had growing up was the scarcity mindset. Imagine coming from the Vietnam War, having everything taken away, starting over here. So the invisible money script I had to keep thinking about as I was growing up. It's like, oh, we didn't have enough. You got to save, no credit. Don't buy anything, save, don't go for lavish things, right? So as I went through college and integrated in American culture, I mean, I was born here in America, but just trying to understand the two cultures, I had to break free from some of those money patterns. So the topic around money was something that wasn't talked about. So I had to force myself to learn about it because it wasn't around the household. And I wish I had a better story than other real estate investors, but we're going to really cliche here. I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I saw the assets to liabilities, and the rest was history. Listen to Bigger Pockets, started surrounding myself around other people who thought about money in abundance and versus scarcity. And eventually, it led me to leave my W-2 about 2 months ago. I worked in real estate tech. I worked at Zillow, just some other companies kind of following the corporate path. As about 2-3 months ago, I left to be a full-time real estate investor and agent here in the Austin area.
That's cool, man. Congratulations on making the jump.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It was scary, but there was a certain point where it was holding you back from what you want to do. And as your side hustle or side income starts to grow, then there's a certain point where the W actually keeps it from growing anymore. So I never recommend anybody to just quit their job and then figure out their side hustle. Start their side hustle, have their job, let those two things grow. And there's a certain point where you know when it's right to let go of the other one.
Yeah, that tipping point, because there are so many people that just kind of jump in with both feet and are like, oh my God, okay, I'm drowning now. And it's cool that, you were able to kind of just foresee that, hey, maybe that's not the best idea. Why don't I, kind of take it day by day and get to that point where it feels comfortable and I'm not going to like wreck my life by having to make a giant transition. So also really like the football analogy.
I like that too. And I don't think you give yourself enough credit. Like you say, you don't have this great story. I think you do have a great story. And especially going back to the football analogy where you did see that your grandparents came here as immigrants. They want to do what's best for their family. Your mother had you when she was 15. She wanted to do what's best for you. And now that you've gone older, you realize what they've done. You want to keep moving that ball down for whenever you have children or going on with your life, I can tell. So, and you will move that ball down. I can tell. So I like that analogy.
It's already moving it down,
yeah,
dude.
right?
Scoring touchdowns already.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I mean, did you go to higher education? Did you go play football? Or no, I'm just kidding. Did you go into higher education after high school? What'd you do after that?
Man, if I was just 2 inches taller, I'd be in the league. I promise you. But unfortunately did not play any any football or basketball in college, but I did get the honor of going to UT Austin, which is a really great school here in just Texas. But I barely made it through. I graduated with like a 2 point something GPA, kind of like scraped by. I couldn't get into the business school, and I didn't even apply to the business school. My mindset at that time was like, if I don't try, then I can't fail. So I can't, like, I don't have to recognize that me getting rejected if I don't even try. So struggled through school, honestly, but I ended up graduating with the economics degree somehow. Throughout that process of college, I really struggled with my like self-confidence, and a lot of insecurities led me to be a heavy biz drinker. I would probably drink anywhere from 3 to 5 times a week, but get really drunk during those times. And I mean, I think that was part of college. Like, hey, you go out, you drink, do things with friends, but there was absolutely no balance at all. And there was just kind of the struggle and imbalance I had. Is like, I'm in this system. I think I want to get a corporate job because everyone else around me is. And UT has a lot of really smart students. So I'd be talking to this freshman from a really good neighborhood in Dallas, and he has like 4 double majors, and he's going to go investment banking and then become a doctor. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'll just like pick a job then. Because for context, in high school, I was really excited about the entrepreneurial things. I would buy fake watches and resell them. Probably not the best thing. My mom caught on to that and made me stop. But I started doing a little bit more legitimate things. I would buy Jordan shoes and resell them. I would string tennis rackets. I would flip and fix phones off Facebook Marketplace. So there was always this piece of me that enjoyed, trying to make money on the side, whether it was from scarcity and the money scripts I had growing up. But it kind of got lost going through this system of going through college, going through school, not knowing what I wanted to do, constantly comparing myself against everyone else. And now that I've been out of college for 5 years now. Wow, it flew by. In 5 years, there's a couple lessons that I had. Number one is, it wasn't because I wasn't as good as the people around me and I was always comparing myself to. It's just I didn't really have a vision or purpose of what I wanted to do. And whether that purpose is figured out yourself, sometimes it's fed by your environment, your family, your upbringing. If you tend to have more money and grow up in a good neighborhood, then the people around you get to support you, typically better for you to create that story when you're young of what your purpose is. For me, I was just trying to get through, right? And the second lesson I learned was that, we don't choose the hand that we're dealt in life, but we choose what we get to do with that hand. And for me, I played victim. I'm like, well, I didn't have as much money, or I don't have as much resources. And I played victim. And it wasn't until after college I realized, like, hey, I'm going to choose to do something. I'm going to outwork the people around me, regardless if they're smarter or had a better education than me. And I'm going to make real estate my thing. So once I identified with it, all the habits just came along.
It almost sounds like you kind of had a moment in life where like things just snapped. Do you have a moment like that you can kind of remember where you're like, you know what, like this is it. I'm changing my life. I'm deciding, hey, I'm not going to be, have the victim mindset anymore. I'm taking control. Do you have something like that, or was it a little bit still more gradual?
It was a little more gradual, and I wish it was more instant and fast, but that's a lot of things in life that I think we look for this instant gratification through social media. You want things right away. And I think me expecting things to come that fast and them not happening that fast brought me into this cycle of just guiltiness. I just felt bad about it. So I drank a little bit more and I wasn't where I wanted to be. There's kind of this cognitive dissonance of like where I wanted to be and where I currently was. So instead of like making that shift happen faster, it would happen slower because I kept feeling guilty. But over time, fast forward, my first job out of college, I landed a financial analyst job. Had no idea what I wanted to do, for a company called JCPenney. You might have heard of that. You might not have. That's the store that you walk through in the mall to get to where you actually want to go, right? So for the Gen Zers out there, that's a department store that has pretty much everything, all these clothes, and it's Macy's in that bucket. But anyways, I ended up working for JCPenney, and it was an hour to an hour and a half drive each way. And I would listen to Bigger Pockets the entire time going there and the entire time coming back. And it's what Brandon Turner calls a mobile university. Like, it just became my school. I didn't want to listen to music that long. And I just learned so much. And as I heard each person's story. And a lot of the times those people on Bigger Pockets, they're just your average person. Like they're your janitor, they're your policeman. And it made me feel like I could relate to somebody's story, that I could do this, because when I was in college, it was all these like really, really smart kids from great families. But seeing Bigger Pockets, that slow shift over time, one thing led to the next, started going to forums, started meeting more people, started having more conversations. And I think it was the moment when I bought my first property and stopped paying rent and receiving cash flow, I guess was maybe that tipping point where it really fueled everything else after that.
Dang. Well, shout out to JCPenney for giving the opportunity to listen to Bigger Pocket podcast all the way. I mean, and also they're still the cheapest Levi jeans around. So I love JCPenney's. But I mean, it's pretty crazy too. I think a lot of that comes together too, where you talked about how you went to college and you weren't necessarily the best student. It was hard for you at times to go to class and all that stuff. And then come here, you like pretty much self-taught yourself with a podcast, and you found out what what you were destined for. And I think that is, a lot of people feel like they have to go to college or they have to do that way, when a lot of times you teach more outside of college than you would learning inside college. And I think that's important to remember.
So so often, like you're outside of, college experience or outside of college education, ultimately ends up being like stronger than what you learn actually inside of school, so it's kind of crazy. I love what you're saying about the mobile university, because that's exactly how it happened for me too. I think a lot of people get really bitter about having a commute, or get upset that, oh man, this stupid job's making me drive or whatever. But especially in your situation, like you took it as an opportunity to learn about something great and grow your education. And it's just, so many people don't take advantage of it. They listen to the same song over and over and over again instead of doing things like that. And yeah, that's cool. I dig it. So let's jump into maybe a little bit more about how you got into real estate, some of your current investments, and what you're up to now.
Yeah, so the first property I bought in 2021 absolutely changed my life. And that first property was a house hack. So I'm really big into house hacking. I think it's the absolute best way for people to get into real estate and build wealth, especially because the barrier to entry is so high with how much it costs. But the first property was a single family property in Austin. I lived in one room and I rented out the other 3 rooms. And coming from living at home for a little bit and living for free, when I started paying rent, I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this anymore. So how can I own a house, but not pay too much, not become house poor? So I lived in one, rent out the other 3, and that was a single family one. And essentially it's a co-living model. And I still run it like that to this day. I've moved out completely. I'm on to house hack number 2 now, where I lived in one of the rooms. I rent out 2 of the extra bedrooms. But the difference on this one is that the garage is a converted 1.5 story loft. So the main house is a 1-story home, but they took the garage, they took the attic space, built a staircase, and now it's tall ceilings and it feels like a mini apartment. I run that as a short-term rental while renting out extra bedrooms in the main house. So it allows me again to live for free. Prices have gotten way expensive here in Austin. Interest rates are high, but I'm still able to find a way to make it work. So those are like my base strategies, house hack number 1 and house hack number 2. Number 3, I ended up getting into my first partnership deal in Canyon Lake, and we're doing a traditional vacation rental out there. In the middle of setting up right now. We should be launched here soon. We closed at the beginning of this year on January 9th. And that's going to be the first home that I don't live in and run as an investment. Super excited for that one. We have a hot tub, pool, downstairs bar, and fire pit. So just all the amenities in the hill country. So hands down favorite investment we worked on. And number 4, we just closed on a duplex on Friday that we're going to be running midterm rentals on Airbnb on both sides. And for somebody that doesn't know about midterms, is essentially minimum 30-day stays for travel nurses and corporate professionals or people displaced in housing. It's like a mix between a long-term rental and a short-term rental, as if they had a baby, and that's your investing strategy. So those are the 4 properties that we've worked on so far.
Our interview that comes out on Monday is with Ziana, she's the author of 30-Day Stay. And
nice.
So yeah, that drops on Monday. So that'll be cool. Because again, the midterm rental space is definitely still the new hot thing, and so I'm excited to share that with everybody.
Yeah, even my girlfriend's a nurse, and then just the other day she said, "Oh, we got 10 new traveling nurses at my work," and then just right away popped in my head. I'm like, man, who's renting out those midterm rentals? I need to get in that.
I'm excited. I do have a couple questions about the midterm rental and the short term rental. So, what made you choose the location for the STR, and is that a pretty popular place that people visit in Texas?
Yeah, so originally me and my partner were looking for somewhere more in the city limits, closer to us. We could drive to it, we could set it up. But Austin is not an STR friendly city. They are not giving out any more licenses that allows you to run short-term rentals. I think about 75% of Airbnbs in the Austin city limits are illegal. So a lot of people are doing it,
wow.
but it's just a huge risk to be able to do that as a pure investment, put a ton of money into it, and just hope a neighbor doesn't tell on you. Right. So there was just that risk management side that we weren't willing to take on and just wanting to run it by the book. So if we had it our way, we'd probably own something within the city limits. So we started thinking, okay, what's kind of our backup strategy? We ended up finding a property in Canyon Lake, which is about an hour south of Austin. And I think with the Airbnb market getting a lot more saturated, people are looking for more opportunities to find cash flow, but also a unique product. Like that's what's going to stand out. Pareto's principle applies here in short-term rentals that top 20% of listings will do 80% of the business, no matter how saturated it gets. So you need some sort of identifying feature that separates you from the rest. And what we love out here in Texas is the hill country, the wine, the vineyards, the hills, the views. So we ended up finding a spot in Canyon Lake because my partner actually is used to traveling out there for their family. They grew up around the area. There's a music venue right across the street, about 6 minutes away, Whitewater Amphitheater. So it's just a lot of things just got checked off the criteria for us in terms of price point, vacation rental, amenities, and just the value we can get out of it. So that's how we ended up choosing out there. It wasn't our initial strategy, but we just ended up out there by chance and honestly just luck.
Cool. I dig it, man. Yeah, I've seen some of the photos on Instagram and looks like it's coming along really cool. So dig it. What as far as the midterm rental goes, what made you decide that that would be a good strategy for that location? Do you have a good amount, like a hospital nearby or things like that?
Yeah, so Austin is a very small city geographically. You can get from North Austin to South Austin in 30 minutes without traffic. And you hear about everybody coming in Austin. But Austin's one of those small cities. So that's why our prices have gone up so crazy. But we didn't choose anything near a hospital because ours is still only 10 minutes away from the city. What we found for a lot of midterm rentals in our team is as long as you're 15 minutes from downtown or 15 minutes from the Domain, which is like Austin's second downtown shopping center and area, you'll do fine as the midterm rental as long as they can get to a lot of these areas. So we don't have to be as location specific and really target hospitals because we're such a small city to begin with. But this deal ended up being a subject to deal, which is such a hot topic within creative financing right now. And it fell in our lap. We were not looking for a deal. We're just going to focus on this one. Fell in our lap and it was just too good to pass up. And with the Airbnb regulations and laws that we talked about before, we ended up just doing medium-term rentals, minimum 30 days to get around that licensing. So that's what we felt like was the best strategy for that. Would we do one side short-term if we could? We might, but we can't. So we're just going to run midterms on both.
Okay. Cool. I dig it, man. Yeah, that's cool. I like it.
So, I mean, I know a big thing that you always hear about is just how everybody's worried about the real estate market right now. I mean, how do you feel about what's happening right now and where do you see it going over the next few months?
Yeah. So right now you hear crash. Every headline is real estate's crashing, all these YouTube videos. And one thing that's good to know and take a step back is why are some of these people posting these things? A lot of them are selling ads. They're trying to get as many people to click on it. So they manipulate data in a way that's it's fear mongering to help people click on it. And I think the danger of that is it keeps people out of the housing market because buying a home is already a scary thing to do, especially if it's your first home, right? It's a lot of money. You don't really know how to proceed. There's like 10 million people involved, and you don't want to be that guy that bought a bad investment. And now you get to think about that as one of the biggest investments of your life. So these additional articles and YouTube videos are really scary. But I think what's really helpful for us is take a step back and understand how we got here. So real estate values in 2019 through COVID, from then on, because of very low interest rates, home values doubled within a few years. And that should not happen. Like the average real estate market has appreciated 3 to 4% in 1 year. Your home should not double in a few years. So it was just a really weird time. So for anybody that's been in the housing market recently or hearing articles, we're comparing against the craziest time in real estate. So homes went up 50%, 100%. And now that things are returning to a more balanced market, the reason why we're returning to a more balanced market is because interest rates have gone back up. We're right at around 6.8%. If you look at 2022, interest rates at the beginning of the year were 3%. End of 2022 was 6%. It doubled in 1 year. So it was just a huge shock to the market. Prices started coming down, and now we're just returning to normal levels. And if you compare against the craziest time in the market to where we are now, it feels like things are crashing. But think of it this way. Let's say you bought a stock that went up 50% and it went down 20%. Would you be upset? No, you still have a gain, right? But because of this recent advice that we're seeing, everyone's just scared. Everyone's running away from the market, and people just don't know what to do. But what do you need to know as a buyer right now if you're thinking about the market? It is potentially a really good time to buy for a few reasons. You now have leverage for the first time. You have choices in the homes that you want, and sellers are willing to give you potential inspection repairs, concessions. Like 2% rates were great during COVID, but it doesn't matter if it's 2% rate if you can't buy any home because you can't get any offer accepted, right? So where things are now, things have balanced, things have come down. Where do I see them going over the next couple of months and throughout the rest of the year? I don't know exactly, but I think they'll continue to either level out or maybe drop a little bit more. But I think a better question to ask is, we can get into it, is the right time to buy for you? And that's going to really vary from person to person. But some anecdotal evidence, I'm here in Austin. Spring is right around the corner. Real estate market tends to pick up around then. And half of our listings went under contract within 1 week. Mortgage applications are up. People are getting more excited. Things are starting to heat back up. So it's really time for you right now to evaluate your goals, what's best for your position, how long you're going to be in that home, and then to decide if it's a really good time to buy for you now.
Got it. Okay, cool. And so, do you think, what are some of the things, I guess, that you're seeing? I know you mentioned like some seller concessions, some of those types of things. Are you recommending that for kind of every buyer that you're working with, or do you have any type of, I guess, I don't know, like standard strategy that you've been using lately to get offers accepted?
Yeah, absolutely. So it depends on where they are and how many days on market that home has been listed. If you are looking for a home that just hit the market yesterday, there's not enough seller distress or concern at that point to really have much leverage. But if you're looking at a home that's 60 days plus on market, 90 days plus on market, that's a situation where, one, you can get below list potentially. You can ask for concessions. You can ask for more things in your favor. It should really just think about the position of the seller or where they are. And if it just hit the market recently, you may or may not be able to get anything from that. So just depending on where it is, if it's well priced and how many days it's been on market, it's going to really vary from home to home. Gotcha,
for sure. Yeah, we're definitely, it's nice that we're not having to see all these offers that are being written, $100,000 over asking, all cash. It's cool that it's slowed down, because that was just getting ridiculous and out of hand.
Oh, it's insane. So I'm happy to. Going along with that, what are some of the different ways you've seen buyers and sellers negotiating now that are a lot different than the 2021 madness, would you say?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now, buyers have leverage for the first time ever in their life. Let's take a step back to 2021. You had to put your highest and best offer among 50 other offers. You have to write at least $100,000 over. You have to have an appraisal waiver, and you have to do like no inspections, 1 day inspection. Like you have no time to figure anything out. And there are a lot of people that have buyer's
remorse from that time because they just felt so pressured to buy something.
Oh, I bet.
Right now, because you have leverage, you can take your time. Before, we were offering to get anything accepted anywhere from 0 to 3 days to inspect the property. Now we're offering anywhere between 7 and 10 days to inspect the property, and they're getting accepted. Back then, for the earnest money, we'd have to put 2-3%. Now you can probably put 1% and get accepted. And when you go through inspections, because there's not 20 other people trying to buy this home at the same time, you now have leverage of like, hey, I want this repaired to close in this home, because you may be their only option right now. If a seller knows they have 30 other people that want to buy this house, they have absolutely no incentive to do any repairs or give you any money back. And my favorite thing right now for buyers that we've used personally and for most of our clients is a rate buy down. So rate buy down is an opportunity to get what the current market interest rate is down below market rate. So let's say right now, an interest rate from a lender would be a 6.8%. You can go to a lender and say, hey, here is $5,000, $10,000, whatever that amount is. In exchange for this cash, I now exchange that for a lower interest rate. And buyers have always had the opportunity to do that. But now, because sellers are in their position where they are likely needing to sell or wanting to sell, they can actually buy that down for you. On that short-term rental in Canyon Lake we talked about, we got back $22,000 in seller concessions, and we covered all of our closing costs, and we bought down the rate. So there's a lot of good opportunities if you find them in the right places.
Dang. Yeah, that's wild. What was the concession, like 3%?
Yeah, around 3% or so. Actually, no, hold on. Be 5, 10, 15, 20. It was actually up to 5% of the purchase price.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And do you think it was because it was in such like a unique area that you're able to get that, or just a really motivated seller?
Yeah. So a motivated seller, we offered under list and we asked for all those concessions back. And one thing to think about is when you are asking for concessions, talk to your lender and find out how much concessions you can have for that particular loan product. Some loan products will allow you 2% max, 3% max, or 5% max, but just talk to your lender and make sure that you're offering as much as you're able to, and use that as a negotiation point. But yeah, we just found a good position with the seller where they just really wanted to sell.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's super cool. So I guess switching gears a little bit, I know we're kind of talking a little bit about what the market looks like, but I want to talk a little bit about just the, like, I guess the characteristics of a great agent too, because I think it's such an important topic. There's a lot of people out there who graduate and get their real estate license, but don't necessarily put in a ton of work into their craft. You are someone who I think does a tremendous job at constantly trying to get better at the job and reinvest in yourself and all those kinds of things. So what are some of the characteristics of a great agent, and what sets the rock stars apart from some of the others?
Yeah, so there are about 1.2 million real estate agents, and only 4% of them close their transaction in January. So be very careful about who you choose to work with. That's a very low stat, and most of them will never close at least a single transaction or more in a single year. So if you want to go find your friend or your buddy that you know it's a real estate agent and trust them with the biggest purchase of your life, good luck with that, right? Because there's a lot of experience and things that go into it. The barrier to entry may be low, but the difference between a great agent and an okay agent can cost you thousands and thousands of dollars. So what are some things that you can do to go find a good agent? So number one, and something that I always tell clients and friends, and this may mean they may not work with me, and that's okay. I want to make sure that they end up in the right position with the best agent. Somebody that's a good agent doesn't mean they're a good agent for you. So go and find somebody that has done or specializes in what you're looking to do. So an analogy I like to use, we're going to continue with the analogies here, is would you go to the gym and hire a personal trainer that's never been fit before, that's only read about it, kind of learned about it, but he has a degree in it, but he's never done it himself? Yeah, there's some tips that he give you. Absolutely not, right? I would not, because there's this emotional level of understanding that somebody has to know as they go through it to know what questions to ask because they've been through that. Because, so for example, if you want to go and house hack, go and find an agent that's house hacked before so they can know the rent by the room rates or how to run STRs or get the right people in there for systems, right? So that's generally an analogy I like to use. Some other things that separate great agents from okay agents is how do they explain things? How do your conversations go with them? And do they set proper expectations for you and explain it in a way that you understand? Do they ask more questions than they talk? And at the end of the day, they can only ask the right questions if they've done what you've done. And the last thing that I think you should look for is find an agent that is really honest with your criteria. You don't want a yes man sales agent. Yep, that's a great house. Yep, that's great. Yep, that's awesome. Yep, that's great. Because at which point do you really know if this person is fighting for you to make sure the biggest potential investment in your life is one in your best interest? Don't go to the agent that needs the commission. Go to the one that has the experience, that can be honest with you and say, hey, no, I don't think this is a great deal for you for XYZ. This may mean that we don't close a house together, but I'm looking out for your best interest. So one way to do that is just send him a couple properties and maybe send things that are different from your criteria that you told in the beginning and see if he points those out for you. So those are some of my big tips.
Yeah, that's great feedback right there. I like that.
I love what you were talking about with the honesty piece too, because there is that. I mean, I think we've all felt it, in some way, shape, or form from like, I don't know, a car salesman or maybe a real estate agent or just someone else in sales that is, you could tell like the only reason that they're saying yes to, or, giving you all these different examples is they need the commission. They need, the money at the end of the day. So they're just trying to get you into whatever they can as soon as possible. Right. And, I think there is a lot of merit to someone who maybe, it's affecting them at the end of the day and their commission check at the end of the day. And they're telling you, hey, maybe this isn't the best idea. Like that's a great way of being able to, I guess, see through someone's real intentions.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And then I think I love too, where you said, find a realtor who's done like maybe short-term rentals or mid-term rentals, who's done that stuff before and has experience with it. Because I think sometimes maybe people do listen to just our podcast or something, and they go out and call the first number they see on the billboard, and then they end up losing all their money because they didn't have what they wanted in order for them. And I think that's very important to remember too. So yeah, definitely.
Especially when it comes to investment properties, like buying an investment property with someone who knows has never invested in real estate themselves and maybe has only bought a primary residence is going to be very different than someone who is also an investor at the same time, which makes a super big difference in the understanding and just knowing what to look for and how cash flow works and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah,
I dig it.
It's kind of let's talk about you for a little bit too. What do you think are some ways you're setting yourself apart from others, helping people get into real estate? I know you have social media and things like that, but what are you doing that makes you stand out?
Yeah. So going back to doing what you've done, our team here in Austin, we pride ourselves in being investors first and then agents. So between all three of us, we own short-term rentals, we own mid-term rentals, rent by the room, alternative strategies. So any of those people that come through our pipeline and we have the opportunity to work with these clients, we're able to help them in that way. Because after the transaction closes, who's going to be there to help you? Is it an agent that closes the transactions and never talks to you again after that? Or do you close a transaction and you can call them and say, hey, I need a contractor and I need a bid for this, or I need a property management company, or I need to get connected with somebody who knows more about this. Is that agent going to be able to help you do that? And we've built a really good community here in Austin. We host workshops, we host social meetups, and we host a mastermind, all of our clients around the topic community. And on that, I think when you start to invest in real estate and start to pursue these alternative investments in and outside of real estate, that path can be lonely sometimes. Maybe you're breaking apart from your friends in high school or the people that don't understand. And it's not that they have bad intentions or don't want you to do well, but they just don't understand. So they may say things, they may, try to bring you back down unintentionally. So I think a big part of us joining a community out here in Austin is to help connect other like-minded individuals with others that are doing what they want to do, whether it's an agent, a lender, or just a friend. When you are trying to buy your first property, that sounds scary, but the guy next to you just bought 10 last week. It doesn't sound as scary, right? So that's a big part of what we're trying to do in our community. It's like, hey, we've done it, so let's help you do it and connect you to the right people.
That's awesome. I love the community focus. That's cool.
Yeah. How'd you guys all find each other?
On our team?
Yeah.
Yeah, so on our team, we all found each other through Bigger Pockets.
Okay.
My agent, or the guy I work with now, is my mentor. That was my agent that helped me buy that first house that we talked about. And then he sent out a text to everybody saying, hey, do you know anybody looking to get their real estate license? I'm looking to grow my team. I'm like, hey, I know myself pretty well. So I hit him up for a call, grab some coffee, and the rest was history. Left my job to hopefully this thing works out. But yeah, left my job to pursue this.
I think it's gonna work out.
I know it's gonna work out. I love it. I dig it, man. Cool. Well, any last minute tips for home buyers before our lightning round?
Yeah. So one thing I wanted to address is people are wondering, is it a good time for you to buy or not? And there's a simple formula I want you to think about. And I'm going to say it depends. I know somebody's going to be like, it depends. I'm going to answer the question, I promise. So it depends. And let's go down this. We're going to exclude house hacking. We're including any rentals. We're going to just think about if you are buying a home as a primary for yourself, your family, or maybe some other people, but primarily for yourself. How long are you planning to stay in that home? If you are only planning to stay in that home for less than 2 years, I don't think it's a good time potentially for you to buy, because so much can happen and you don't want to be in a position where you can't move on to the next stage of your life. Let's say you're a young professional and you want to go to New York, LA, or you want to go to another place. How much would it suck that your house actually keeps you from doing that because now you can't sell it? There's one thing that people don't think about is when you sell your house, there's probably 8 to 10% in selling fees. So you need a little bit of appreciation, and there's selling fees. So what if you can't move to New York because you can't sell your house for a profit? Now you're stuck in this house. So if you're less than 2 years, it may not be a good time for you to buy, and probably isn't. Between 2 to 5 years, hey, it may be a good idea for you to buy, but just know there's always risk with any investment. And from 2007, before it crashed, until it rebounded, it took about 6 years. I don't think we'll ever see it that much of a crash or fall in prices ever again. So that top bounds maybe about 6 years for anything to recover if anything goes bad. So 2 to 5 years, you'll probably be okay. But if you plan to stay in that home for at least 5 years, absolutely yes. It doesn't matter when you buy that home, because going back to stock investing, I think of real estate as like dollar cost averaging. I plan to hold all my properties for 10 plus years. So I don't care when I buy. I do care what price, but I don't really care when I buy as long as it's a reasonable price, because over the long run, I'm going to sell those at a profit. So that's kind of my general rule. If you want to decide if buying is right for you, the caveat to that is if you want to house hack and the cash flow makes sense from day one, you can move out less than between that 1 year requirement and 2 years, as long as that cash flow makes sense. You just don't want to be in a cash poor position where you can't move because you can't rent it out to cover your expenses.
I think we see that kind of often where people are like, oh, I can't be a renter. Like, no way. I need to buy. And it's like, you end up in those situations where people do move after like 2 years or even less sometimes of living in that house. And especially out here in like California and probably in Austin, like most resident or primary residents that you're buying are not going to cash flow after sitting on it for 2 years. And so they end up in a situation where it's like, crap, I have this house hanging around my neck that's not going to cash flow, so I can't rent it out. I can't sell it because after fees and everything, I'm not going to make a profit. So I think that's really, really good advice as far as just kind of really defining your timeline. I think is definitely a big important step. So I dig it, Devin.
Yeah, another thing I wanted to add to that is that $500,000 house in Austin is probably $3,500 in mortgage payment. The max you probably rent out is $2,000. Well, if you can't short-term rental it, you can't do a midterm for XYZ, and now you're stuck in the position. But that's kind of to wrap up my first kind of tip before our lightning round. Number 2, real quick, is that real estate can change the trajectory of your life, but also hold you back. I know on Instagram, you're probably seeing a lot of your friends buy houses. Everyone wants to buy a house. And you just kind of feel pressure to do that's the right thing. Like for me, I felt like college was the right thing, corporate job was the right thing, and now I got to buy a house. Renting gives you this flexibility that a lot of people don't talk about. And as an agent, there's nothing wrong with renting if it gets you closer to buying the right investment that will change your life. So don't buy a house just to buy a house. And the very last thing I wanted to say is figure out what a good deal is to you if you have decided you want to buy. The worst thing we can hear as real estate agents is somebody come to me and like, hey, I just want to buy a good deal. Like, just send me anything that's a good deal. Like, what does that mean? And they're just like, just find me a good deal. And I send them something like, this is not a good deal. Like, I can send a deal to 10 different people that are experienced investors, and maybe 3 say it's a good deal and 7 say it's not. So get very specific what area you want to be in, what price point you want to be at, how much you want to pay, what do you want to rent out, what strategy you want to do. Getting that specific is going to help you get to that home much faster and make the process easier for everybody.
Great advice. Love it.
Yeah, I like the perspective thing where it's what is a good deal, because what's a good deal to one person might not be another good deal to another person. It is so vague. You need to know what you're going in with, having your goals already. So it's nice.
Why would you send me a deal in this neighborhood? Well, because you told me you didn't tell me what you're looking for.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's jump into this lightning round.
All right. You ready, Devin?
I'm ready.
All right, cool. What is your favorite beer or beverage?
Topo Chico, and I used to think it was the worst thing in the world. I don't know if it's because I'm getting older or not as cool as I used to be, but man, just a good old Topo Chico, man.
I dig it. Have you had the Topo Chico seltzers?
Oh, that's terrible. Terrible. I went from 100 to 0, so I can't get with that one. It's strictly the sparkling water.
Gotcha.
That's awesome.
What's your favorite book?
Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. I don't know if I'm at the cusp, but that guy's just a really bad mother effer. And
Cuss away.
he's just, oh, yeah, he's a bad motherfucker. And he's just really just takes whatever you think your perceived limit is, you are not even close to where you think it is. Wherever you think your perceived limit is at the gym, your professional life, or your capacity to take on new things, you're really only at 40%. And there's another 60% waiting for you on the other side. Take it with caution. I ran a half marathon without training because I read the book twice, just thinking I'd be ready, you know? And it was the worst. I'm glad I did it, but I'm still limping right now. And it really hurts to walk. So I hope I didn't tear anything. But I'm like, yeah, I read David Goggins twice. It's all a mindset thing. Ran a half marathon this past weekend. And I had to sit down at mile 9 because my knee blew out. And that was the first time I've ever had trouble walking. Like there was this massive hill in Austin. I could not get from the bottom to the top of the hill. I stopped like 3 or 4 times just to get up a hill. I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to finish this marathon. My goal originally was not to have an embarrassing time. By the end, I was like, I just want to finish. I don't care if I crawl there, roll down this hill. Like, I'm going to get to the end. So what should have taken me like a low 2 hours to finish half marathon, I'm proud to say we finished it at a 3 hours and 15 minutes.
Turns out some things can hurt me.
That is you got to write a letter to him and let him know, man, like, hey, I went and ran a half marathon because you said it's all mental, and I did it. So I was like, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
I love that.
Subject line, what the fuck?
All right. What is your favorite place you have visited or place you want to visit next?
Man, I want to visit the motherland. So we talk about my family coming from Vietnam, but I was born in Kansas, moved to Texas, like just really never went out of the country till the first time last year. I went to Mexico 3 times. Like, this is great. Same time zone. I don't have to worry about jet lag. Texas borders it, so it's super easy to get over there. So I think I have enough in Mexico. I need to make that solo trip over to the motherland and do the very stereotypical post-college backpacking.
I dig it. Heck yeah. All right. Last one. What does retirement look like / mean to you?
Yeah, I think simply it's having the financial freedom to do what I want, when I want, and have so much passive income coming in that I don't have to do anything. If I could stop moving and everything is still funded. I don't think I ever want to get to the point where I'm not doing anything. I just want to have enough passive income till I get to that point. Now, I have pretty big aspirations of having a big family. And I didn't grow up with a ton of family around me. I want to have a big house. I want to have a wife that doesn't have to work and we just travel whenever we want. And I think during that time, I'd still be involved in real estate in some capacity, whether or not I needed that money. I selfishly got into real estate just to make money and try to move the ball down the field. But along the way, I've really fallen in love with the process, got to meet the most awesome people, get to do podcasts like this and talk about it. It's just honestly the coolest thing. And the people are so open and wanting to share. Like there's enough real estate for all of us out there. So I love to connect. I love to meet people and try to help people on their journey and take that first step because I just know how scary it is.
Well, I got to say, after talking to you today, I think that dream of retirement is definitely, you're heading the right direction. Now the big family and the wife that doesn't work, I think you're going to be there very soon.
Thanks, man.
Heck
I
yeah.
appreciate that.
Love it. Yeah, Devin, it's been awesome, man. It's been fun hanging out. Where can people find you?
Yeah, so on Instagram, you can find me at Dang Devin ATX, or you can find out more information about some of the investments I've done. I try to be as transparent as possible and share my story on my website, devindang.com.
Cool. Heck yeah. And if you are in the Austin area and need an agent, I know a guy.
Yep, absolutely. Call Devin.
I know
Right
a guy too.
All right, Devin. Well, thanks for coming on, man. Your story, your tips have been great. And yeah, always a pleasure getting to connect with you.
This was awesome. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks so much, Devin.
All righty, Alec. What did you think of our buddy Devin?
I don't know what's in the water in Austin, Texas, but dang, there's some entrepreneurs there. We got our good friend Doug, who introduced us to Devin. And Devin, he's a go-getter. I really liked how he talked about just pushing the ball down the field. He came from immigrant grandparents who wanted to encourage their family and support them. Went from a mother who had when she was 15, and just now he looks back and he knows that he wants to like push his family, which isn't. I don't know.
All righty, Alec. Ready? Just gonna keep it rolling. All righty, Alec. What did you think of our buddy Devin?
Well, I gotta say, Devin's drinking the water of Austin, Texas, because it seems like some of the best entrepreneurs come from there. I don't know how they do it. It seems like it's a city that just helps entrepreneurs achieve their dreams. And he's been such a go-getter since he was a young kid, whether he learned from his immigrant parents, grandparents from Vietnam, or his mother who was 15 when she had him. And he just wants to keep pushing that ball down the field, like he says. It was a great analogy he had. And I think he's got a great perspective on what's currently happening in the real estate market, what used to happen to it, and like what the future holds for the real estate market. And I don't know. I feel like if I were to use him, he would help me out so much. He would ask my needs. He would be able to help me achieve my needs. And he just seems like a great guy to work with. What do you think of Devin?
Yeah, definitely. Devin's a super cool guy. And again, I think someone who like is doing a job or doing a craft that he's passionate about. And that's why I think he's excelling like really well at it. And he's doing, again, like work that he truly loves, because he's, again, investing in real estate himself. And so I think that's another thing that makes him such a great agent is it's like, it's not just a job or a commission check for him or a way to make money. It's like a way of life and a passion that he's getting to fulfill,
Yeah.
And so I think that part's really cool. And yeah, love all the tips and advice that he was giving, especially as far as like the really paying attention to what your timeline is for buying a house and kind of how that plays a role into your success in real estate, off of how much time you're going to be living in that primary residence, et cetera. So yeah, I thought it was cool. And I think it was a good episode. We haven't done much talk about just agents in general or the I guess just real estate market as a whole after the 2021 madness. So I'm excited to share this with everybody.
Yeah. Another self-taught entrepreneur too, which seems to be a common occurrence on this show. So shout out to that. So right after you guys listen to your number one podcast, Brew Bucks, go listen to the number 2 one, Bigger Pockets. And that's
because we are so much bigger than Bigger Pockets, the number one real estate podcast in the world. Bigger Pockets University, though, it's a thing, man. And the mobile university, like I love it. Yeah. So if you're commuting, if you're driving and you're not listening to something, an audiobook, a podcast, or whatever, you are doing yourself a disservice. So yeah.
Turn off Lizzo and turn on a podcast.
Yep. All right, let's get out of here. Once again, thanks for listening to Brew Bucks. My name is Jacob.
And I'm Alec.
Signing off.
Thanks for listening to the Brew Bucks podcast. Produced by your favorite financial coaching company, Left Coast Finance. If you're looking for help building a personal financial roadmap, or you just want to talk about great beer, and who doesn't, head over to leftcoastfinance.com.